Yo, how's it going, guys, and welcome back to another book review. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C Clarke. First published in 1973, this book won both a Hugo and a Nebula Award, among other things, and it's such a good book, actually, that it earned itself a sequel about 25 years afterwards. It really got about 3 sequels, but I know absolutely nothing about them, so I'm not even going to pretend like I do. But yeah, this is the first Arthur C Clarke book that I've read, and to be honest, if all of his books are as good as this one, then I'll be in heaven, because I look forward to reading some more, to be honest, after reading this one. Let's get first into the blurb. The enigmatic object christened Rama was detected while still outside the orbit of Jupiter. A first radar contact at such a distance was unprecedented, indicating that Rama was of exceptional size. As it raced through the solar system, it became apparent that Rama was a cylinder so geometrically perfect that it might have been turned on a gigantic lathe. Mankind was about to receive its first visitor from the stars. So, let's do a quick plot. I'm obviously not going to do any spoilers in this part, but a quick plot about it is that the book is set about 100 years in the future after many asteroids have hit Earth and caused so much damage that humankind got very paranoid about more asteroids hitting Earth and decided to make a space program. I think it was called Space Guard, although I could be wrong on that, where pretty much they look out for objects coming from space so that they can monitor them and pretty much prevent them from hitting the Earth. These objects, there's been so many of them, they've been of different sizes, but they're usually just, big rocks, pretty much just asteroids, right? However, eventually, this object comes through, which is a cylinder, as the blurb suggests. And the thing with the cylinder is, not only is it perfectly round, as the blurb just said, but also it's massive, like absolutely huge. It's about 20 kilometers long, or 25 kilometers long, 16 kilometers wide, something like that, which is incredibly weird in itself. And then you consider that it's perfectly round, as if it's made by some superior being, right? So they get a team of spacemen to go and visit this object to find out what it exactly is. And the first thing they do when they land on the object is they get through a triple airlock system and enter into the object. Everything inside is dark. There's absolutely no light in the whole object, and there's no gravity, of course, because it's an object in space, so obviously there is no gravity. But as they begin to explore the object, they realize that when they enter, there's 3 different ladders going in 3 directions, about 120 degrees perfectly between each other in a circle. So they follow these ladders down to the spherical part of the object, which is named Rama, so I'll just refer to it as Rama, and they see 3 perfect staircases, and these staircases are incredibly long, and they go all the way down to the bottom of the cylinder. And pretty much as they start going down these staircases, and they get closer and closer to the actual rounded part of the cylinder, they realize that Rama actually has its own gravity, its own gravitational force, and this gets stronger the closer they actually get to the bottom, I guess, if you can call it that, although it's a sphere or a cylinder, so I don't know what you would call the bottom, but pretty much when they get to the bottom of it, the gravity gets stronger. So they try and explore the object inside, and it's really dark. There's absolutely no light, so they have their own searchlights, so that's how they get about. And they find out that there's 5 different city kind of looking things, like they have what looks like buildings inside of them, and they call these cities London, Moscow, Paris, Rome, and New York, I think. And pretty much they find that there are 5 different cities about this cylinder, but also halfway into the cylinder there's this big ring that goes all the way around, and it looks kind of like water, but it's frozen water, it's ice. And because there's ice, they can't get through to the other side of the cylinder, so they also only stay on the first side of the cylinder initially. But as you progress through the book, you'll see that Rama starts coming to life. Not necessarily that aliens start appearing from it, but more that the lights switch on eventually, and there's no more darkness, and then the water, like, maybe that's the wrong way to put it, ice melts and becomes water, so then there's water, and then some robots start coming up to the spaceman, and then some weird things happen. The atmosphere inside of Rama changes from pretty much being dead to a whole tropical rainforest, and many strange things happen. And pretty much what the book is trying to do is it's trying to reveal to us the secret of Rama, like why did this spaceship looking thing arrive in our solar system, and what's its goal? Like what is it trying to achieve? Is there aliens on board? Are the aliens evil, or are they good aliens? The book is also set in a world where we've already, as humankind, been able to move on to other planets. So you've got civilizations on the moon, you've got a civilization on Mars, although it's quite a small one. You've got a civilization on Mercury, although that's also very tiny. And Mercury is quite an interesting part of the book because, you know, it's set on such a climate where it's incredibly hot all the time. So because of that, humans had to evolve and like adjust to the thing. I'm not saying humans are like, you know, immortal or like completely invincible to heat or anything, but it's interesting how they describe how humans are living on Mercury now. So that would be my very quick plot. It's a bit jumbled around the place because there's so many things I want to talk about in this book, to be honest, but we'll get to that. Why you should read this book? You should read this book because Rama in itself is an incredibly interesting object. You know, it was obviously developed by aliens outside of our solar system, and it's been traveling through different solar systems for so long until it reached ours. Rama has so much intriguing parts of it inside, like why is it all dark, and then why do all the lights randomly come on, and what is the light source, like where do they get their electricity from? What are these robots that are walking around Rama? Because all of the robots, I'm not going to spoil what they look like, but they're all very bizarre. Why is there 5 different cities inside of Rama? Cities, because when you read it, you'll find out that the description of their cities is very bizarre. It's not what we would attribute to cities. And also, you should also read it because not only are there spacemen inside of Rama, but there's also a whole Rama committee, which is all these like presidents of different planets, I guess, getting together and discussing about Rama. They're all like very smart scientists, so they all like come up with theories of why Rama is there and also what's going to happen next, because they're the ones that predict, uh-oh, Rama's coming really close to the sun, that's really going to heat up the whole planet, and so the spacemen need to get out, etc., etc. So that's something very interesting about the book. Not only are we following the spacemen inside of it, but we're also following like a committee that's overlooking the space mission pretty much. So you should read this book because of how well Arthur C Clarke develops Rama. Like there's so much development put into it, there's so much mystery in it, and there's actually quite a bit of horror in it as well, because I don't want to spoil anything obviously, but you just keep waiting for aliens to appear, and it's like really playing on your mind. Like every time something happens, it's like, oh crap, aliens are about to appear. And it just drives you crazy the whole way through the book. And also later on, when the Rama committee becomes very kind of, I wouldn't say paranoid, but they become very skeptical of why Rama has entered the solar system, and they grow very scared themselves, and then they decide to do something with Rama to like prevent it taking over the solar system, if that's its intention. So yeah, there's a lot of great things in the book, and I honestly could not recommend it enough to be honest. But now that's going to do it for my spoiler-free part, and let's just go into a few things I want to talk about the book, a few questions I had, a few things I want to praise about the book, but there's going to be plenty of spoilers in here, so maybe just go read the book and then come back to this part and we can talk about some stuff. And if you want to continue my discussion of the things I mentioned, or if you have answers to what I'm saying, then just put it in the comments. I would love to talk a bit more about the book because it's such an amazing book. The first thing, I always talk about my favorite chapter. However, this is a bit difficult in this book because there's about 46 chapters, I think, or something along those lines. Pretty much every 5 pages is a new chapter, and I'm actually quite a big fan of that. I actually think it fit the book very well for multiple reasons. Reason number one is it makes it very easy for someone to read if they're not really into reading books and they don't want to commit to reading 20 pages, let's say. They can just open the book, read 5 pages, and then just either stop reading for that day, or maybe they're like, oh, you know, the next chapter is only 5 pages, I might as well do it, why not? And then they end up reading way more than they thought they would. It also does a good job in a storytelling kind of aspect, because almost every chapter is left with either a cliffhanger or like a very dramatized, like, oh, what's gonna happen next. He just keeps leaving like mystery after mystery at the end of chapters, and I think that benefits as well. It also makes it easier when he moves from one perspective to another, like when he goes from what the spacemen are doing on Rama to the Rama committee outside. It makes the transition easier, although most of the time he just transitions it from Rama committee starts off the chapter and then the chapter ends with the spacemen on Rama, so I don't think that matters too much. But yeah, I did enjoy the very short chapters. Instead of giving you my favorite chapter, I'll just go talk about my favorite part of the book, which was very close to the end when they decide for their very final thing they're gonna do on Rama to cut a laser into one of the buildings, and they actually enter the building and they find the whole like catalog of different items from all over the universe that the Ramans can just print. That was probably my favorite part because it actually kind of gave us a little bit more about the Ramans. We still obviously don't get to see the Ramans, but it gave me a little bit more, and I really enjoyed it. It was like, ooh, confirms they do have actually 3 arms because of their spacesuit. And my favorite part was that they're 2.5 meters tall, because that's just freaky as hell. But I'll get to that later on in the book. Let's first talk about the sheer size of Rama. When they first entered Rama and it was trying to explain what Rama looks like, I got confused to hell because I understood it to be a cylinder, right? I mean, that's the first thing that's revealed about Rama. However, I just could not get through to my head about how they went from the middle of the cylinder down a ladder, down a staircase, into the bottom of the cylinder. Like, now that I think about it, it's so obvious, but when I was reading it, I was trying to think so hard about it, and I couldn't get, I just couldn't get it through my mind how they did it. But I mean, it's so obvious that that's just me being stupid at the end of the day. I just wanted to mention that I'm just an idiot. But I really like that Rama has its own gravitational force, which moves about as you're walking around the cylinder. So even when you're at the top of the cylinder, the top, even though space doesn't have a top and bottom, it still feels like you're just on the floor. I like that a lot. I liked how massive Rama was. It was 16 kilometers across, and I don't remember how long it was, but I think 25 kilometers maybe? Whatever it was, like, it's really hard to picture how big that is, because, you know, you hear a number, you know how long a kilometer is, you think, oh, 16 kilometers is 16 times a kilometer, right? But when you actually have to visualize it, that is a huge distance. Like, that is a lot of walking for them to do. And I really liked it. I really liked the scale of Rama, and I liked that it was separated into 2 separate parts with a river in the middle. That was pretty cool as well. Another thing I liked about the book was that Arthur C Clarke wrote the spacemen to actually be very competent. Like, the space crew know exactly what they're doing. Like, even when they come across challenges, like when they had that raft on the river, the lady that was in charge of that, she knew exactly what she was doing. She never ran into problems with it. She never made a dumb decision. Same with the boy, I can't remember his name, but the one that was on the space bike and he traveled to the south side of the cylinder. I liked that throughout that whole time. Like, he knew that he had to conserve his energy. He knew how much he can give out in energy so that he still had some left over. He knew how much food he needed. He knew exactly what to do with the whole mission. Even when his space bike obviously ran into an issue and he had to crash land, he still knew how to crash land it. And that's what I liked a lot. I liked that everyone was very competent. Never in the book does Arthur C Clarke rely on progressing the plot by having characters act in a dumb way. Like, no one ever makes a mistake that's really stupid that helps the story progress. The story always progresses with the characters being very competent, which I liked, because, you know, this is a very important space mission. This is like the most important space mission humankind has ever had up to this point, right? So you obviously want the best of the best there, and everyone does a great job. Also, there's never really any like arguments between the characters, you know, it's all about the mission. I like that Arthur C Clarke just focuses on Rama, because that's obviously what we're reading the book for. There's never any like wee clashes between different people. There's no like us versus them. It's always like everyone is on point, everyone knows what the objective is, and they just want to complete the mission. And that's what we're interested in. So I really like that, and I really commend that, because sometimes it's so easy just to make a character do something stupid in order to make the story more interesting or to progress the story, which I'm not a big fan of, but I'm glad everyone was very competent. Another thing I want to touch on is the Rama Committee. I really liked that the Rama Committee in themselves was very competent as well. Obviously, it explains that they're all like top-notch scientists, psychologists, space historians, etc. So it's obviously everyone's very competent. I liked about them that they discussed what was happening on Rama, and they were like, oh no, this next thing's gonna happen, the temperature's gonna rise, or oh no, the water's gonna melt, or when the water melts, it's gonna put out like a sea of toxins or whatever. I can't remember what happens. But I like that they kind of said that to us, and then like we know what's coming in the book, so we can be like, oh no, you guys need to watch out, and then we see the spacemen obviously dealing with what was already predicted to happen. So that was cool. I like that the Rama Committee was pretty much the president of every like planet or inhabited moon. I like that a lot, because everyone has a stake in why they want to find out the most they can about Rama, obviously, because depending on if Rama actually has a civilization on it, if it has aliens, if its plan to enter the solar system is to take over the solar system. Obviously, this is something that everyone that rules a planet or a moon in the solar system would care about, because it's like someone coming over to take them out, pretty much. So I liked that a lot. Next thing I want to talk about is the civilization on the other planets and moons inhabited by humans. Especially Mercury, which I mentioned in my plot and why you should read this. I like how Mercury is portrayed so much, because obviously the planet is incredibly hot, and they say that the people that live there are really determined and they work really hard, and in a way they think of themselves as being better, right? Because they live in the harshest climate. If they can survive it, then they can survive anything. They're obviously so much better than everyone else. And I liked the Mercury leader having nukes, because they say that they use the nukes on Mercury so much because of the harsh reality of the planet. So I like that he was able to send out a nuke to target Rama, and he was so confident and cocky in doing it. Like, he didn't care about what anyone else would think. He knew that his planet, being closest to the sun, would have the biggest competition with Rama if Rama decided to join the solar system. And in a way, I think he thought of himself as being like very crucial, that the decision he makes is very important. Like, he knows that if he doesn't nuke Rama and Rama turns out to be evil, it's all gonna be on him. Like, not necessarily that everyone's gonna blame him, but he feels that he's got that superiority, that he needs to take care of everyone. That's at least how I thought of it, is that he just knows that if he doesn't do anything about it, then they're all gonna be screwed, pretty much. I have a question here while we're still on the topic. Like, obviously, I think Titan was there was a civilization on Titan. I think there was a civilization on one moon of Neptune, Triton. I think there was a civilization on Triton. But my question is, why was only one moon of Neptune actually inhabited by humans, and why was no moons of Uranus inhabited, at least as far as I know, and only Titan of Saturn was inhabited? So I wonder about that. Why did humanity only spread to one moon from each planet, if any moons from a planet, you know? Or maybe that's just because it's still like infancy of space civilization, and maybe they do plan on going to every single moon. But I just thought it was interesting how only like one moon of different places was civilized and inhabited. Moving on a little bit though, I want to talk about the Simps. The Simps being the space chimpanzees that are part of the crew of Endeavour, which is the spaceship that we are on. So it says that they have 4 Simps, i.e. 4 space monkeys, who pretty much do all of the domestic work on the ship, because they are, I think it was 2.75 times as effective as humans, and 2.75 times as efficient. So they can work longer, they need less food, they never argue amongst each other, they just get the work done. I thought that was really cool, the fact that, you know, we are like 100 years in the future in the book, so it only makes sense that we were able to evolve technology so much that we can actually like recruit chimps to actually be useful and do stuff for us. Like, I thought that was interesting. Whether the chimps are actually happy about doing it and whether it's considered slavery or not, I don't want to get into that topic, right? Because that is way too deep for me to discuss in this video, even though it would be a very interesting topic to discuss whether the Simps actually have power over their decisions, whether they actually want to do the job or not, or whether they're actually capable of understanding, I want to do the job or I don't want to do the job. But anyway, I did enjoy that we had Simps, because like it just added to the whole science fiction kind of atmosphere of the book. It added to the futuristic feel that we actually have monkeys working for us, like actually doing stuff and actually being better than the humans at it. Obviously, the book is clear that there are limits to Simps, like they don't know how to operate a spacesuit, so in like an emergency where they have to evacuate, the Simps are completely dead. Like there's no even a point in saving the Simps. It's like, sorry, bye, but you're gonna stay here and die. Anyway, a big question the book raises, I feel, is the difference between the difference between human extinction and discovery, and how important each of those are. Because in the book, obviously, Mercury realizes that Rama could be very dangerous, and that's why they decide to send out the nuke, whereas everyone else, including the people on Endeavour, decide that no, actually, we don't want to nuke Rama. Yes, maybe they turn out to be evil and aliens start coming out and they take over the whole solar system, but what if they don't? You know, and we want to discover this. We don't want to destroy this whole spaceship that has been swimming around the universe for like over 500,000 years, for example, right? So that's interesting. It's like, you know, there is a danger that Rama could just wipe out the whole solar system and everyone on it, maybe even use everyone as slaves or as like monkeys for experiment. I don't know. But the crew believes that, you know, if they actually let Rama get blown up, then they made a huge mistake. They may be making a huge mistake, because Rama is such a, like, you know, it's just an alien thing, but so many answers. Is so interesting. Not answers, questions. There's so many questions to do with Rama. It's like, where did it come from? Why is it here? What do the Ramans actually want to do? Are they just trying to preserve their civilization? Are they traveling to some very far away place where they're going to progress their civilization? Like, we know nothing about it. We don't necessarily know that it's an evil spaceship, right? But that's the question. It's like, do we destroy it to avoid the danger that we could possibly have to fight the Ramans? Or do we let it go and live? Because, well, it has a right to live, right? Who are we to dictate whether a lonely spaceship traveling the universe that is obviously not showing any signs of causing us harm, like, why? Who says that we're allowed to destroy it? You know, like, what? Why would we destroy it? Especially when there's so much discovery, like so much we want to find out about the civilization. So I thought that was interesting. Speaking about that as well, I want to talk a bit about religion and how religion's portrayed in the book. The book doesn't delve really like far into religion or anything, but it is mentioned a few times where like there's this new religion where they still believe in Jesus Christ. However, they believe that Jesus actually arrived from space and came to the world from space. And it actually portrays religious people as really like good at what they do in the book. Like, it says that religious people who work for like space and like work out in space are very efficient, they're very logical thinkers, they're actually like very competent and very good to have with you. Like, they don't just spout out like stuff about faith all the time, or they're not very emotional. They're saying Jesus came from space, therefore we should be very logical about everything, and that's what they are. And I thought that was very interesting, just a little wee spin on religion, and it's completely different from what we believe, obviously, but I thought that was very interesting. And I liked when one of the space crew said to the captain pretty much, you know, I've got a theory, and it's a religious one, I've got a theory that Rama was actually like a second Noah's Ark. Like, God has sent in Rama because like something really bad is gonna happen. Like, let's say the fucking world will explode, like all of Earth will just, you know, go up in flames or something. So Rama's here, and when the time is right, Rama will pretty much tell everyone to board onto Rama, and it will take Rama away to like a new like place for everyone to live, like a second Noah's Ark. Maybe the whole solar system is about to implode. Maybe like the sun is about to explode and just devour all the planets. Like, you don't know. Or maybe it's just that the people on Mercury get way too excited and they just decide to nuke every other planet except for their own, right? So Rama's like a second Noah's Ark to pretty much save humanity from extinction. So I thought that was an interesting theory. It's like it's a very easy theory to make. Like, you know, when someone tells you that, it's like, oh yeah, that's totally probable. But it's not something you'd think up yourself. So I respect Arthur C Clarke for thinking all of that up, because it is very interesting. Another thing is, I really liked when all the robots came to life, because obviously throughout, I don't know, maybe even more than the first half of the book, like so much of the book is just spent on exploring Rama, but never finding anything, like until the guy goes to the southern part of Rama and finds the flower. Like, we've not seen any sort of like living being, we've not seen anything, right? It's just an empty spaceship. But then all these robots start coming out with 3 legs, and it's like, okay, what are they doing, right? And they move incredibly fast. Like, these robots are kind of freaky when you think about it. Like, they're not that tall, but they have 3 legs, and they move incredibly quickly. It's very interesting, but they seem to be avoiding the humans completely, which I thought was very, very cool. It's like, you know, what are they actually doing? And one of the crew members says that it appears as if they're searching for something, but we don't know what, and it's never revealed what they were searching for. It's just kind of like that breadcrumb being left so that you can kind of chew on it in the back of your mind, but then the answer is never revealed. Like, what were they searching for? An easy thing to think of is that they were searching for the flower that the guy ripped out and took from the southern part of Rama, which maybe they were looking for the flower, right? But if it wasn't the flower, then what were they looking for? And maybe another theory that I would put forward, maybe they were looking for things that they've not had before, like they've not come across, so they can add it to the catalogue of stuff, so that the Ramans have it for the future. You know how later they find this whole catalogue and it has like every single thing that's ever been created and stuff. So maybe they were just looking for new inventions to add to the catalogue. Although I have to question, if that was the case, then they would have just stolen everything, because I'm sure Ramans don't have stuff that was created on Earth before, because they've not been to Earth before. Or at least if they would have been, it would have been thousands of years ago, so things would have been different. Or you'd think so, at least. Maybe that wasn't the case at all. But yeah, searching for something, I thought that was really interesting, and I wish they would have explained what they were actually searching for, unless I just missed it, but I don't think I did. I also like the other robots, like the ones that, the giraffes that have 2 heads, or the bulldozers. And when the guy was in the southern part of the planet, he came across a hole, from what I remember, and there was this thing that looked like a tank at the bottom of the hole walking up, and he pretty much ignored it because he said that it would take the tank about an hour to get to the top. And initially in my notes I made a question of, what is this tank? This tank is never talked about again. But now I have a feeling that the tank that was talked about is actually the bulldozer that gets mentioned many times. That it gets said that on the southern part of the planet there's bulldozers. So I think that was what it was. But yeah, it's very interesting that the robots ignore humans completely, and that they're made up of flesh. Like, they're half biological matter, I can't think of the word for it, and half metal, pretty much, half robotic. So I thought that was very interesting. And it made me wonder when they actually swallow them up later on, like when they go into the river and they get swallowed up. I get the metal being reused, but how does the flesh get reused, right? Is it all just morphed into a ball, and then it's like you know when you make meatballs and you just take pieces of mince out of the big ball? Is that how they create these things? Very disturbing kind of images pop up. But speaking a little bit about that tank that I just mentioned, that was down on the bottom of the well, or at least that's how I read the book as saying, that he could see like very deep down, like wells that go maybe like half a kilometer down or something like that. And these wells are never like explored, and I get why they're not explored, because they're on the southern part of the planet, where this guy that I can't remember the name of was the only person to go to that side, and obviously he was like, he just checked out the whole area and then he just went back over because it was so dangerous for him to stay there by himself, obviously. But I do wonder, like, what was down those wells, man? Especially that it seems like that's where the robots were coming from, because that's where the bulldozer was coming from. That maybe that's where all the Ramans are, right? Like, if you explore it, maybe that's where all the Ramans are, like, frozen away or something. Or maybe if they went down there, it would have took them under the ground into one of the actual cities, because you know how the cities are all, like, glued together, so there's absolutely no doors and no, like, ways to enter the buildings. So maybe if you go under the wells, that's how you enter the cities, and maybe there could be so many crazy things. And that's the thing. Arthur C Clarke just leaves that mystery. Like, we never find out what happens when you go down the wells, what's actually down there, and it just leaves me speculating, which I love doing. Obviously, that's why I make these videos, just to explore all these different possibilities. But I just wish I knew what was down those wells. But at the same time, I'm happy I don't know, because then I wouldn't have any theories to make. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting that it mentions these wells that we never actually go down to explore. It's just left down to interpretation, down to guesswork, because we just ran out of time. Like, and that's why I like, it's like, obviously we can't explore absolutely everything in Rama because there is a time constraint. Like, Rama is traveling towards the sun, we only have an X amount of days, so it makes perfect sense. But going back to my favorite part of the book, obviously with the museum and catalogue of stuff, that was really cool. Like, because the whole book, we want to find answers, and the answers are never presented to us. And then when they actually decide to just go and laser into a building just before we leave, it's like a final mission. It's like, we've done as much as we can without hurting Rama or destroying anything. We have to go in because we're running out of time, and we really want to find out what's inside. And they find this whole museum which has all these different artifacts. Like, that is so cool. And I wish they could have like created one of them. Like, let's say they selected a random shovel that they found, right, and they like clicked to create it. If there was any like control system, I don't think there was, but let's say there was. Like, I wish they would have actually created something to see what happens. But that's part of the thing. It's like, as I keep repeating throughout this whole video, it's like they create the intrigue. Arthur C Clarke makes us ask all these questions, creates some very, very cool ideas of what could happen, but then it's like, no, we're out of time, we need to move. We can't actually go find out what the answer is. Can they actually create any of these objects? Are these objects from space, or are some of them actually from planet Earth? And if they are, then it's like, how the hell did they get objects from planet Earth? Why are they here? It makes no sense. So that's why I really enjoyed that museum object catalog part. And like I said, I also enjoyed that the people were like 2.5 meters tall to be suspected without a head, so God knows how tall their heads were as well, right? And that they have 3 arms, and they probably have 3 legs as well. So that was really cool. And also on that, I quickly want to touch up, I already said once that there's quite a few like horror moments in this, especially like initially when you enter Rama, like everything is dark. And even their first few times actually going into the bottom of the cylinder, like all the lights are off. So they only have like a searchlight looking on them, and then they have a few like torches or something. And I thought that was really freaky, because like you don't know what's in the dark. Like there could be aliens everywhere in the dark just looking at them, observing them. Or maybe they have cameras. Even after the lights come on, they could have cameras and just be observing you the whole time. I also thought it was very freaky when at the very end, or close to the end of the book, when like it's time to leave, and like after they come out of the museum / catalogue area, and all of the robots on the southern side are all running towards the river, and then they all jump into the river to be swallowed by like the big sharks in there and stuff. I thought that was really freaky as well, because it's like, oh no, something big is happening. And it just feels like, you know, why are all of these robots killing themselves, right? I thought that was really freaky. And based on that, when they were leaving for the last time after that happened, I thought, if we were going to see aliens, or if anything was going to happen, this is the time, because they're about to leave. This is where the aliens are going to come, and they're actually going to like start attacking, or they're going to take a few of the space crew and keep them on Rama, or we're actually going to see aliens, maybe talk to them or something. And then it never happens, and I wish it happened so bad. But God, Arthur C Clarke created a whole book where we explore an alien spaceship, and aliens don't make an appearance a single time, and I love it. I love the fact that he's able to make the book so interesting without ever showing us an alien. We don't get to speak to an alien, we don't get to see one, and all it does is it creates that wee feeling on the back of our minds where an alien could appear at any point, and sometimes I was terrified. I was waiting for the alien to appear, and then he never appears. And it just added to that feeling of suspense that I had throughout reading the whole book. And wow, that's why I like this book so much. he creates a whole spaceship. We explore the whole spaceship, so many questions, and we don't see an alien a single time. Although I suspect you'd see aliens in the sequels, which I don't think were as well. The reception for the sequels wasn't as good, but I honestly don't know. I just clicked on Wikipedia for the sequels and I didn't even read any of it. So yeah, maybe I'll get round to reading the sequels at some point, but I'll have to wait and see. A little thing is, as they were leaving Rama, I'm pretty sure they left a few objects on Rama, like some of their space equipment, although I may have read it wrong. But that's the way I understood it, was that they were like, oh, we don't need any of this equipment anymore, let's just leave it. So they did leave something behind for the Ramans to catalog if they wanted to. And also, if another civilization goes into Rama, they may even find those objects from Earth and be really confused. So the whole time they were saying, let's just make sure we leave Rama the way we found it, and then they end up leaving objects on Rama anyway. So that's interesting. And the second last thing I want to talk about is the space drive, because the Rama committee were so sure. They were like, no, a space drive is literally impossible. Isaac Newton has proven it with his laws, that for there to be for there to be a reaction, you need an action or whatever, right? So like, if you want things to move, you pretty much need to propel them or give them some sort of fuel so that they move. And this was proven incorrect by Rama, which at the very end reveals that it does have its own like gravity space drive, where it just wants to go that way, then it will just go that way without using up any fuel. And I really like that, because obviously it's science fiction, and with these books I expect them to stick as much to logic as they can, because, you know, if they don't stick to logic at all, then you're like questioning like, oh, okay, so anything is possible, why should I care? But I really like the space drive thing, because it impacts the story so little, but it also means so much. Like, everyone on the Rama committee were saying, no, this is impossible. We know with all of our knowledge of physics and science and logic that it's impossible to have a space drive. And then Rama has it, which just proves that there are civilizations so advanced in the universe that know things that we deem to be absolutely impossible. And also, it added that little bit of fun where, you know, we think that we know everything about the universe and everything about physics, but actually we know absolutely nothing, because we were so sure that space drive is impossible, that you need something to propel you forward. But actually, no, it turns out not to. It's just Ramans were so like progressed forward. They were so smart that they were able to come up with a space drive, and we as humans have so much yet to learn that we're not even close to coming up with stuff like that. We deem it impossible because we're so like tied down to our logic that we don't even think we could possibly manage to create a space drive, when in reality it's apparently possible. I'm sure in our world it's actually impossible, but then again, you never know. Rama proved it's wrong. In the book, they proved that it's possible, even though we thought it was impossible. So that's why I like that so much. And the very last thing I want to talk about, and I've already mentioned it many times, but Rama gave 0 answers. The whole book was about entering an alien spaceship to discover stuff about it, and we discovered absolutely nothing except for that Rama exists. And even then, Rama has left the solar system, never to be seen again. Well, until 25 years later, where a sequel book came out. But I really liked that we wanted answers so bad, and then Rama gave us absolutely 0 answers about anything. And the book leaves with a cliffhanger, if I can find it quickly, where it says, and on far-off Earth, Dr. Carlisle Pereira had as yet told no one how he had woken from a restless sleep with the message from his subconscious still echoing in his brain: the Ramans do everything in freeze. And that line, the Ramans do everything in freeze. I don't know if I'm missing something with that, because I read that and I'm like, right, what does that mean, right? Obviously everything with Rama has like free, like, you know, free ladders, free staircases, the robots have free legs, the Ramans are believed to have free hands, free legs, right? So it makes sense, but it's like, why is he thinking about that at the end? The Ramans do everything in freeze. Am I missing something, or is that just a cliffhanger that literally means nothing, but it's written in such a way to be like, ooh, it means something, right? Obviously the Ramans do everything in freeze, so ooh, are they gonna come back again, or is something gonna happen now? I don't know, I thought that cliffhanger was really really interesting because yes, the Ramans do everything and freeze. But what is that meant to tell me about the book? Because I don't know, I'm obviously missing something. And if you know what that refers to, put it in the comments and I'll pin a comment if it explains it well, because I don't know what it's talking about. But I do like the cliffhanger. It's a good way to end the book, especially when the whole book was about the mysteries of Rama and then we end with another mystery. So I like that a lot. But that would do it for another book review. Rendezvous with Rama, absolutely amazing book. It's gonna get a 5 out of 5 from me, obviously. I absolutely loved it, and I'm definitely gonna read some more Arthur C Clarke in the future because the books are so good, or at least this one was so good, so I hope the other ones are great as well. But I hope you enjoyed another review, and I'll see you in the next one.